this looks like, hopefully. Alright, y'all. Let's see if this works. I'm excited to see. Oh, wait. Hold on. I think it looks better. I changed some settings, so if it does. Oh, it says excellent condition, so I think whatever I did worked. It's exciting. So, okay. I'm a little nervous, but I'm drinking this at like 10 p.m., which is insane. I don't know who's gonna join here, who's gonna hop in, but I mainly just want to talk about a couple things tonight. And I'm just doing this late night stream. I haven't streamed like this before. I've only streamed like Fortnite that I did like a couple times on for fun on Twitch, but this is way different for me. So, but usually the videos that I record like this are like I think about that, or obviously I think about them, but I'll like, you know, have a lot of, so essentially it's pre-recorded or it's recorded, so I'll be able to edit, you know, I'll stutter, I'll cut stuff out, I'll like edit a bunch to make myself sound better, because I do tend to stutter a little bit, but I figure, you know what, this is, streaming like this I think is really helpful, just to help me like be able to talk about what I want to talk about and just get it out. Tend to have an issue getting stuff out like that. And like stuttering over my words, but anyway, whatever. What I'm trying to say is I'm going to talk about, let's talk about the Bless God Summit. So let's get into it. Okay, so I went to the Bless God Summit, which was in San Diego, hosted by Ruslan KD. If you guys don't know who that is a YouTuber that is a big Christian YouTuber. I'm sure you already know who it is. If you see Bless God Summit, you already know. But yeah, so we ended up going with Sarah, who's my wife. We ended up flying down, which was a pretty funny situation. So I'll just kind of talk about the situation, because it was pretty chaotic initially when we landed. So we ended up going. We landed on Wednesday. The conference started on Thursday, so we ended up getting there on Wednesday. And then while we were there, we landed in LA. We had to drive to Carlsbad, which is where the location was, and I ended up booking a hotel through my Capital One points, which was located in Carlsbad, supposedly. But I ended up booking this hotel, and it was called the Hyatt House San Diego. And I was like, sweet, pictures are nice, it's cheap, surprisingly super cheap. But I was like, I mean, the pictures are there, it's Capital One, kind of weird, but I'm just gonna do it. So I did that like a while ago. So when we got to the address that this place is supposedly at, it ended up being like the wrong address, which is crazy. No one here. Oh god. Is it public? Okay, sorry, just making sure it works. It looks good. So yeah, so I ended up getting there, and it was kind of funny because we go to the address that this hotel is supposedly at, and we get there, and it ends up being a Studio 6, which, if you guys don't know what that is, it's like a motel, essentially. And not like there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but it definitely wasn't what we were expecting. So we ended up I ended up going in, I like check in, and it was kind of weird because the lady couldn't find my info, but then she somehow did. And then I was like, weird. Anyway, we go out to the car, we grab our stuff, we end up going back into the place, and Sarah's like, are you sure this is the place you clicked on? I was like, yeah, I think so. Oh, it looks alright. Looks a little off, but maybe I think it is. So we end up like going in there. We like go up to the elevator, and it just, you could tell it was a little run down. So she's like, no, I don't know if this is it. And I'm like, it is. I mean, I don't know. This is the place that sent us to, and the lady kind of had my info. So we ended up like getting in there, and so I'm like, okay, let me actually look into this, because you know, seeming a little sus. So I go on my Capital One. The hotel name that's on my reservation is different than the one that we were at, which is, it was like a Studio 6, and the one that we were supposed to be in was like a Hyatt House, which is like a super nice one. So I'm like, what is going on? So I end up calling Capital One. They end up contacting the hotel that I was currently at, and something must have happened because they ended up giving us essentially all of our points back, plus an extra couple $100 in points to be able to rebook somewhere else, which kind of sucked because if you're booking last minute, you know, kind of, I don't know, we were kind of like out of the water. Felt like a fish out of water for like a little bit. But anyway, we ended up finding a place, which was great. It was like 20-minute drive to the location. But anyway, all that to say, we ended up going to the Blessed God Summit. So the first day was Thursday. Started like around 4, 5 p.m. It was actually pretty good. You know, Ruslan was hosting. I think this is the first one he's hosted like this. I'm sure he's been other stuff like that. So, I mean, it definitely looked like he knew what he was doing. A lot of good speakers that first day. It was focused on like the worldview, understanding why, you know, we believe what we believe as followers of Jesus, why, or how our worldview affects like how we live, how it affects pretty much everything we do. And so there's a lot of great speakers. There was, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't even remember. Well, there was Preston Perry was there. He had a really good sermon about like being bold in your faith, and I'm actually gonna grab my notes because I took some notes and I figured I should talk to you guys about it. I don't know where they are. It might be upstairs. Anyway, whatever. Okay. I'll just do it off the top. I'll just do it from the top. Off the rip. Yeah. So anyway, so we ended up. Okay. So Preston Perry talked. There was Sean McDowell who talked about, you know, understanding like the worldview and stuff like that. Anyway, that first day was great. It was really nice because Sarah she's not super like watching YouTube videos, following all these people. So having her exposed to that for, I guess, like a first time outside of, you know, going to church and reading the Bible is great. You know, it was really good for her to get that exposure. There was a lot of people. And the cool thing about it that I thought was really sweet was how it was like in a small area, and everybody that was like speaking or performing or whatever, I think all of them stayed at the location. So it was like in the hotel. So we were able to see and run into the people that were like talking, right? These are like pretty big people on social media. You know, like Alan Parr was there. He's, you know, just sitting in front of me, and I was like, weird. Like, I followed this guy for like years. He's sitting there. He's like talking to people like normal. You know, Preston was there. If you guys know who Ryan Horton is, he just put out a song. He was there. I met him. Lila Rose was there. So just like there was a ton of people, and it was so jam-packed with so much info. I was just like constantly just like taking notes, you know, trying to just remember everything. But luckily it was all like recorded. I think the only thing that I would say is like the debate that they had, which was pretty cool to be like there live. It was kind of hard because like, dude, it was like at the end of the day. And I know I talked to like some people and they thought the same thing, but like at the end of the day, it was so like, there was so much because it started at like 9 a.m. In the second day, and then the debate started at like 9, I think, p.m. or 8 p.m., something like that. And so there's like a 12-hour time of like you're getting all of these speakers, all this info, and it's like a lot. And then I think the thing that was like the most thing that I'd like maybe even focus the most on because you're trying to figure out, you know, who's right. This debate was like the last thing there, and so I saw so many people that were drained. There's people like leaving and stuff. So I guess that was the one thing that we were kind of like, it'd be nice if that was like on the first day, or if that was like midday. So we're like nice and fresh when we're listening. Because dude, I'm not lying. Like I was running on E. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm tired, and you know it went a little long too. But besides that, man, it was a great conference. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to do Q&A, cool, which is really cool too. we're able to do live Q&A, which I think can be kind of sketchy because you don't know like what people are going to say. We don't know what it's like you pretty much just open the mic to anybody to ask a question, which I think is great. I mean, right? Why would we shy away from letting people talk, especially if they're there? They're probably going to be respectful. But that was really cool to see some people, ask questions. I actually went up and asked a question, which was kind of fun. I was rattled, dude. I was so nervous going up there. I was like scared, but I really wanted to ask. What else? Let me see where we're at here. 0. Yeah, it was great. I think my overall assessment of it was super positive. Like it was a great place to be with people who are like-minded. First of all, we're all there because we have one thing in common, which is Jesus, right? So that's the one thing we all have in common. It's cool to like meet believers that are outside of our area, or outside. I met people from like all over, right? There's people from LA or whatever, guy from like Texas, stuff like just all over. Pretty much, there's people that were there. But one of the things that I think there's the biggest takeaways that I had that I think of right now. The biggest one I think was what Zach said at the end, which he's a pretty funny dude. But what he said was like bring the you that's at this conference back home. So the way that, I think a lot of us tend to act when we're at these conferences, like we're all excited to meet people, like we're super like outgoing, we're like, oh my gosh, like where are you from, what do you do, what's your story, blah blah blah. We're super like open to that conversation and getting to know people when we're in places like that. But when we're at home, we tend to kind of just be like, oh, okay, I'm not really going to take it that far. So that's one thing that I think was like the biggest takeaway was like, we should be the same. Bring that same energy here. Bring that same energy home that we have here. Especially when you're like in churches, right? Because like when we're in our church, how much are we actually doing that? What is like the mentality that you have when you go to church, right? We should have that same mentality where we want to meet people. We want to get to know their story, especially if you're like heavily involved in your church, right? Like you should be getting out there and trying to meet the people that are coming in, like especially new people, people that were recently converted, stuff like that. Like because why would we only do that when we're going to a place? Like because it's like, yeah, we're gonna meet cool people, might build some great connections when we're out, but we don't know how many connections are walking in front of us every Sunday that we just like, oh yeah, we just get used to, have familiarity with the area, and it just wears off. We just got to bring that back home, and I thought that was such a great point. And then another thing that really hit me was, so they had this guy, Trizzleman Fitness, not just a guy, but the fitness dude, was a follower of Jesus, which is awesome. But he was like giving tips, and I was like, man, your boy thick. If you run it back like six years in the videos, like I was thin. I was fit. But anyway, so now I was like really paying attention to that, and one of the biggest things that I took away was how like we fuel our body. So I think eating is probably one of the hardest things to get down, right? But the thing is, he was talking about how important it is for us to not see like food as like a reward for the workout, right? Because I think a lot of us, at least in my situation, I know a lot of people, and I think there's probably a good amount of people, but we tend to like be really good at like working out or like getting up early and working out and like going hard or playing basketball or doing something, whatever. But then when we get home, we just eat really bad, right? Or we have this mentality that, I have my Apple Watch on. Okay, I burnt like 600 calories working out, so now I have 600 calories to spare, so now I can go eat whatever I want, right? So it's like a reward-based system where like our food isn't just fuel, but it's actually a reward for the hard work we put in. And I think the problem with that is like if we're just taking that mentality, like I have that mentality, right? And so like if I have that mentality, because I have that mentality, you're not really gonna see the progress because all you're doing is you're like giving yourself an excuse to eat bad or eat more than you should because you feel like you or because you did really good in the gym. Where the mentality, the mind switch or the switch that you should have is that the food that you're eating right now or that you're gonna eat is gonna fuel your workout or it's gonna fuel what you're gonna do. And so like if I know that what I'm about to eat is going to make my workout really bad, or I know that if I eat this, my run later it's gonna suffer. I'm gonna feel bad when I run. Then I probably shouldn't eat that, right? You should probably choose the thing that's gonna help you. So if you have that mentality switch, I think it's a huge change. And ever since I got back, I've been really intentional about making sure that what I eat isn't like just fast food or like something like chips or whatever, which I just love, or cookies. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's not really gonna help me, right? And one of the things that I love doing right now is playing basketball. So I've been playing a lot of b-ball, maybe like once or twice a week. And I'm like, okay, I want to get better. I know I can like run. I mean, I essentially my problem is besides not having any handles or really not a bag, but my problem is that I tend to run out of gas. Right, I gotta run out of steam real quick. Like I got like a couple good games in me, and then after that, I'm just a body out there, huffing and puffing. So knowing that, I'm like, okay, if I eat bad, if I eat this food, I'm not going to be able to play as good as I could as long as I want. Uh, and I think, okay, now I'm just going on a tangent here, but going on that too, like if you're, let's just say or sorry, what I'm trying to say is I think one of the things that has helped me in the past, like make sure that I'm like in shape, is to have like a goal, and not just like a goal like, oh, I want to lose weight, but like having like something actually set up, like for example having like a 5K or doing like a mud run or something like that, where you have a goal so that you know that what you're eating or what you're doing is going to directly impact how well you do at the other thing, right? So if you have that specific goal set and you have a specific date, you're like, okay, by June 1st, I'm going to be able to, I want to run a 5K under 23 minutes or whatever. Everything I do from this point until then is going to directly affect that. How much I lift, how much I run, how bad I eat, how good I eat. All that is going to affect my ability to get that goal. And when you have some skin in the game, you spent money on it, you've, signed up for it, you're going to, waste half a day, not waste, but you're going to spend half a day doing it or whatever. Yeah, I think it's going to force you to make sure that you have that mentality. So, yeah, okay, that's like super, not really off tangent, but it's a thought. That was one of the things that I took away, which was great. Yeah. All right, we're almost 20 minutes into this thing. Now I'm feeling like chill. There's no one here, just me, myself, and I. But this will be up for anybody who wants to watch it. All right, we're gonna take a little break. I need water. My throat's getting dry. When I come back, we'll be talking about hell, which I think is gonna be really good. Okay. Oh, what a guy. What a guy. I just recorded that whole entire part about hell with no audio, so that was lovely. Good thing I'm checking it on here. Too bad I checked it after the fact. What a waste of like 7 minutes, but it's okay. I'll read it back. So we're going to talk about hell. I'm going to tell you what happened. So I was in bed one day. I couldn't sleep. I don't know if that ever happens to you, like whenever you either wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep, or you just can't go to sleep for some reason. I think those are opportunities to let God speak to you. So read your Bible during that time, pray, ask God to show you whatever he wants to show you, because I feel like sometimes he's trying to tell you something if it's in the middle of the night, because he knows there's nothing else that's going to distract you from what he's trying to tell you, unless you go on your phone and like start digging in social media or whatever. But I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of see if there's something that God wants to tell you. So anyway, I was laying there and I was like, man, what's going on? You know, I'm like thinking about hell or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember. See, it's happened like 2 months ago, so I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know that I was on askquestions.org or whatever, and I was looking up hell, and then I just had this thought come into my mind, and I started typing up what I was thinking, or what I feel like God impressed upon my heart to write. And that's what I do if I ever feel like he's trying to speak to me or like giving me a word or something. I'll just type it up and give it to my sister. But now that I'm doing this, I'll come on here and tell you guys what happens. But okay, so I'm gonna read it because I already messed it up earlier. This is what I wrote. Sending people to hell is often thought as being bad, or like, why would God let people go there? The reason why he does this is because he loves people so much. He loves them so much that he lets them choose what they want to do. If he didn't, it wouldn't actually be love. He's simply giving us what we want, which for some is to be separated from him. And hell is what it is because it's the absence of God. Meaning that God is the only reason that earth is as beautiful as it is. It's the reason we have water, light, trees, we have relationships. That's all because God's here. Like, the Lord put his print on earth. However, we live in a world that he created where he is a part of. But hell is something that he is apart from. That means he doesn't dwell there, and no thing that he provides will be there, which is why it is what the Bible describes it to be, which is bad, it's ugly, it's dark, there's no light there. So ultimately, we get to decide where we go, and God is good for letting us choose. Why would we want to be in eternity with him if we don't want to be with him here when we are only able to do so in part? I said Jesus loves everyone, and his hope is that all would come to know him and have a relationship with him, which is why he hasn't come back yet, because he wants everybody to be saved. That's pretty much it. I'm going to read this part here, which I think is the most important one. We live in a world that Jesus created, where he is a part of, but hell is something that he is apart from, meaning that he does not dwell there, and no thing that he provides that is good will be there, which is why it's dark. There's no light. There's gnashing of teeth. There's fire. There's pain. There's suffering. Those are all things that God is not a part of. And so that's why it's there, and it's not going to be in heaven, because that's where the full presence of God is. It's in heaven. So that's why, yeah. And so that really, I don't know. I talked to my sister about it, who's like the person I talked to about this stuff, and she thought it was good. And I was like, I think that makes sense. Like, I know I've heard like a lot of the same stuff before, like it's explained like that. But for some reason, when I wrote it down that time, it really clicked in my mind that like, hey, God isn't actually doing something bad. All he's doing is he's letting people do what they already want to do, right? Like, why would somebody who doesn't accept Jesus, doesn't want to have a relationship with him, why would that person want to be in heaven? like, what do you think you're going to do when you're there, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to go. Well, you don't have to go. But I'm telling you, like, if where you're going to go, everything that you get to enjoy here, because we're, like, so used and accustomed to God's mercy and grace that we have on this earth, like, all those things, like, are going to, all the good things are going to go to heaven, right? It's all going to be a part of heaven. But if you're not in Christ, you're not going to be able to enjoy those things. And be, but the most important of them all is Jesus, right? Like, that is the gift. That is what we should all strive for. We're not striving to get, like, materials or a house or cars or money or any of that stuff. Like, that's not even, like, the goal, right? Or, like, what we should want is just him. That's all. It's just presence, to be known by him, to be used by him, to just be with him. It should be enough, right? Like, if nothing else in this world, nothing else in this life, but all that we get is to be with him, that's enough. That should be our mentality. But I think a lot of times we just want to do more. Like, we want to just continue to, like, do stuff, or, like, get more, or do better, or, like, level up, or whatever the heck it is. When sometimes God's like, nah, you need to fall in love with me. You need to come back to your first love. And then from that, then you'll, like, get maybe something, or, you know what I mean? But it's not, but your goal isn't that thing. Your goal is to be like and to be near Jesus. And your calling is to let other people know that they're loved by God. Let them know the gospel and create disciples and disciple people. It's so, I mean, it's easy for me to say that when I'm on here, but I mean, when we go to, like, regular life, like, it's not as easy, right? Like, it's super easy to fall into just work and trying to do better and trying to make more money and, like, trying to do all this stuff. So that's why I think it's super important to be grounded and to spend that time, because we have to remember what our goal is that day, right? And I think our goal every single day should be to please the Lord, to live a holy life that's righteous and that he likes, or whatever, that's biblical. And yeah. Okay. Well, I had, like, one other person in here, so scared you away. You probably heard hell and you're like, I gotta go, so sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna be back, and we'll close this out, and we'll see you in a bit. Alright, we're back. Okay, so we're gonna close this thing out, but yeah, I don't know how long I've been on here. 40 minutes. That's a long time. I feel a lot more comfortable now. Just two people watching. You know, hi. If you're watching, let me know. Who is? But okay, so yeah, I think my goal with this is to do actually live stream for, like, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, 2 times a week, and then cut up the topics that I'm talking about and post them on my channel, and then see what the Lord wants to do with that. But yeah, I feel like it's funny because I've wanted to do this for a while, and then I'm like, okay, I want to find a way to like kind of make extra money on the side, and I like, okay, can I pick up like a part-time job for like at night and stuff, and or I can pick up like and whatever, and for some reason I always find myself like wanting like this is like what I feel like God wants me to do is this, and I don't understand why. Yeah, because I mean the easy thing would be to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go work, make money and stuff, but yeah, I mean I think I want to honor God and doing what He wants me to do, and this is what He wants me to do. So I'm gonna do this. I want to do it for a while. So even if it doesn't pop off or whatever, I think God will honor that, and if it encourages people to live a life that's holy and biblical, I think that's more than any money I could get working a side hustle or a job. So, but yeah, I'm super excited because tomorrow I'm gonna go see this movie. I'm gonna see the King of King movie, the King of King. What is it? The King of Kings. Gosh, animated movie. I'm gonna go see it with my family. So I'm excited to see that. It's gonna be fun. My daughter and my son are going, so hopefully they like it. I know it actually looks super good. I feel like I'm gonna cry, dude. I was watching the trailer like 2 times, and I was just like laying there, and I was like borderline gonna tear up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like when the boy's like sitting there, and like Jesus like kind of says like, don't help me, like this has to happen type thing. I think when like he's about to get taken, I'm like, man, I started like getting emotional. I'm like, man, I'm gonna be bringing my tissues. I remember, okay, not gonna go on a tangent here, but I remember like back in the day, like when the Passion of Christ came out. Some of you guys are probably like, what is that? But back in like the early 2000s, I was like 10, I think, maybe, when that came out, and that movie was great. I'm just kidding. I actually went to see it in theaters with my parents, and I was like 10, and it was like rated R, and I don't know. Anyway, I just remember everybody was crying, and I was like confused because I was like, why are we crying about this? Crazy, because like now I'm like, I'm gonna cry over a kids movie, the same thing, but yeah, I totally get it. That was like a thing. Everybody would talk about how they're gonna cry, but good times. So I'm gonna watch that, and I'll probably come on here the next day or tomorrow, even if I feel like I have energy, and talk about that movie because I'm excited to see it. And then I'll probably talk about some other stuff that's going on in the world because I've seen some fun stuff. I saw Lecrae dropped a clip, and he's like kind of put some guys on there, and just fun times all around. But all right, guys, I'm gonna leave. Hope you guys have a good night. If you guys are even watching this, somebody stays this long, it's amazing. Thank you. Otherwise,